Good morning, everyone. Morning, afternoon. Technically, I realize it could be any and all of the above. Let's see. Take this quick picture. Okay. How are you all doing so far today? Hopefully well. We're definitely going to be diving in deep. I should probably hit record so we capture all of this. Hopefully we are streaming and you guys are with me and I'm not talking to just myself. Oops. Okay. All right. We got that going. We're hitting all the right buttons. We're starting off the day, and I am looking forward to sharing a little bit about today. And even as we're waiting for people to get settled in and come on through and connect with us, there is funny thing about life, it will offer you the opportunity to not only get to thoroughly enhance what it is that you share with other people, but I always get great opportunities to immediately channel exactly what it is that I'm sharing. So every time I share something new, or I'm working on something, or just reiterating what I have already been sharing and have already been doing, I literally get the opportunity to level up on how that shows up by having over this weekend, just noticing energetically where things were at, stuff that was happening and taking place, and looking at the various different friend types and how I wanted to show up in different capacities and spaces, and then what it even looks like to be able to do so. Um, got a chance to notice myself jumping hardcore into strong friend energy and needing to realistically embrace a little more of that mystery friend or do nothing friend, because that's what was going to be most supportive for me. But in the midst of it, believing, and we'll definitely dig a little more into this, but I couldn't not share this insight. So I'll probably take this excerpt too and be sharing it again more across some other spaces and places where you all may be connected with me. But over the weekend, noticing where your trigger points are for, and maybe this is something I'll share tomorrow on the podcast, noticing who, what, where, and when your trigger points to spring into action into any particular friend type are, can be a huge benefit to you being able to notice what it is you may be needing, what it is you're giving out to other people, and how that's going to show up for you in a way that in a way that's actually supportive to you instead of detrimental to the relationships that you would like to be engaged in. That may seem like a heavily loaded question, but it is. That was very much so intentional. Hopefully by now, if you all are settled in with me, you've gotten a chance to grab your drinks, grab your pens and papers or your electronic devices to record so that we can jump into day 3 of our 4-day boot camp. Our last day, not only will I be answering questions and things, but I'll be sharing a lot more details about what I'll be leaving you with at the end of this, which is our Strong Friends Lab. I'll be sharing more info about that specifically, intentionally, as well as the lead up from what I'll be giving today in regards to our goddess friend and what that looks like, how she functions, moves, and shifts. But this weekend, being able to notice myself transitioning between different states of functioning for myself in the different roles as a goddess and recognizing the impact that it has on the important relationships in my life was like, wow. If the timing couldn't have been more immaculate than that, I couldn't tell you what would be. So with that, to be a respecter of your time, space, and place, we are going to jump into this particular slide and know that at the end, I will realistically take the PowerPoints off and just be flowing, kind of like how we're flowing now and talking and sharing. And you're definitely going to want to come back on that last day because there will be some very exclusive intentional offers that will only be for the people that will be able to share a secret message that was left in that last meeting to be able to access a couple of other things that are coming up. All right, let me scroll to the top. And just based on some of those aha moments, it felt right to make some changes to what it was I was actually going to be sharing today. And even noticing the difference of the strengths and maybe some of the barriers to being a goddess friend. So, with no further ado, except whatever my technical glitches are, let's go ahead and share the screen and jump into it. So, let's see. Start from beginning. We can do it. All right, my lovely, beautiful goddesses and sirs who are there to support such goddesses. Today is day 3 of the Strong Friends Bootcamp, and we are digging into the profile, the experience of what is the goddess friend. So a recap as we go through these handy dandy slides. We started off with our strong friend. We moved into discussing our peaceful or okay friend, and also coupled that with the complementary relationship or dynamic of a friend of the mystery or do nothing friend. I'm not sure where we were at in our, what is it? Our poll of what name or title we want to give that particular friend type for the states of functioning, but just know every type has some unique gifts as well as barriers. So the goddess friend, let's get into it. So this particular friend, when we look at how this person may show up, I want to start with there is this place, and if you've ever engaged with me in any capacity or form, what you will know is, and I'm just going to pause this for a second, is that anytime you look at what would your 100% be for any particular day, know that each day carries its own level of 100%. With that being stated, as you move through different states of functioning, no one's always in one particular state or not. So the surviving, existing, thriving components of how you show up, we fluctuate through all of them. And the goddess friend is the one who's able to recognize how she is able to embody all the friend types at various different times to serve the purpose that will be most sufficient for what she's in need of. So the goddess friend is the culmination of being able to hold space to embody, and I'll go back to sharing again, to embody the ownership of your entire self. So the ownership of you as a goddess, a woman, a leader, a healer, a helper, a supporter, a service provider of services, maybe CEO, boss, leader, manager, partner, like all the various different titles that have the capacity to be ascribed to you as you allow those to arise in your life. There is a beauty in taking ownership of these significant relationships and roles and being able to develop them into a place and space that is supportive to how it is you would like to show up. That also gives you the opportunity to really be the greatest version of yourself. So what does it truly mean to own your identity? As we're looking at this goddess friend, what that means is you are not exactly the same every moment of every single day, as we all change. No one goes from having all solid black hair one day to all gray hair the next day. And like you just go to sleep and poof, it happens unless you diet. Then there is a poofiness of that. But otherwise, your identity is an ever evolving experience of yourself. To believe that you will arrive one day and just be, and that's what people can expect forever and ever, it's not accurate. noticing that as you learn more, you do more. As people say, the more you know, the better you do. That's totally true and false at the same time. So being able to hold that space for two opposing ideals at once, both being able to coexist ethereally, and then of course, like in our actual existence, allows you to become more in control of, because a lot of us are like, I just want to be in control of my own life. It allows you to be more in control of and take ownership of who you are, how you are, and how you like to continue your evolution of what that looks like. This means instead of being so much worried about how everyone else always sees you or what they're expecting, the goddess friend is able to notice who she is today is based on those various different states of functioning in the different areas of life that she also wants to ensure that she's able to shift and take care of. So the external and internal shifts, noticing outwardly if you are showing up as a strong friend, peaceful friend, or even the mystery friend, invites you into the opportunity of being able to harness the version of yourself as a goddess to know that, yeah, I actually can take the attributes of all of the three that we mentioned previously and use them in a more consistent flow of how they show up to create the image, the version of the goddess friend. So the goddess friend is truly just the attributes or assets that you're in need of in the moment that allow you to show up as the best version of you, who is appropriately available for what needs to be done, has the time, opportunity, and space to hold space for others, while also ensuring that she has taken care of herself to be able to show up for other people. So, not that you don't go through, like I said, different states or phases, but the goddess friend is the one who shows up. And when she shows up, she's available for what she signed up for. Her yes is a yes, her no is a no. And those boundaries that have been created shift and change as her needs shift and change. So, who is she? She is the goddess friend. Duh, just kidding. Um, who she is, and you may notice that you may have actually experienced versions of this within yourself at times. I would say the best way to determine if you're functioning as your goddess version of yourself and that friend and that state of thriving, it's when you're able to notice that whatever is happening, you're present to it. You're aware of what is taking place. You're not just going through the motions, you're actually experiencing each moment that happens. This looks like by embodying a state of mindfulness, of being present to what's going on, you can then respond to what's happening in the way that will be most supportive to you, the situation, and those that can be impacted by it. This happens by how you take care of yourself. Going through and set it off, as I've mentioned before, is definitely, and I'm just going to keep bringing it up so it gets super familiar and common so you can pick out which part you may be in need of exploring more once you've established your state of functioning, which is the set, surviving, existing, or thriving. Then you can look at, and this is the active component of, all right, how can I intentionally transition into the off, which is opportunities for financial and feminine integration of freedom. These things don't, oops, well, I guess we are off to the next slide. These things don't happen accidentally consistently. So in order for this to take place, there is a point where you have had to just survive so you could exist, and then you can own your thriving process. This is what I've been introducing to you all by sharing these different profile types and just different types of friends, that they're roles that we all take on at different points in time so that we can do what it is we need to do for that moment. So survival today, at whatever age you are, may have been thriving at, I don't know, literally a year ago. Your existing today may look like survival in the future. It is a fluid process. And while that doesn't feel like, well, great, then I'm never going to get there. To be fair, no, there is not an arrival point, but there is an intentional transition that you get to be present to. You get to notice and process through what's happening for me in the moment, what's working, because I like to continue to do that on purpose, because it not only feels good for you, but it feels good for those around you. And when you are in a good space and feel good, everyone gets the best version of you that is supportive to what they've got going on. This is what it feels like when you walk into the room and everyone's like, oh my God, just the sighs of relief, the excitement to find out what's new, what's been happening. And not just because other people are whatever they are with their own lives, but genuinely your energy at that point in time is the most awesome it can be. So this intentional transition of noticing what state of functioning you're in for today's period of life, what are the things that you're working on? So it was easier when you were doing stuff like finishing school just to get a high school diploma. You knew what you were doing, you had a purpose, you had a goal. It was to get done, to finish. For some folks, they may have leveled up. So this is where those states of functioning may look different. They may have been trying to get 4.0 or exceeding 4.0, adding significantly more to a resume to submit for college, or your presentation or your college essay that you may have written. So that may have been joining all the clubs, doing all the things. Different people had different states of survival. The person that's maybe trying to get summa cum laude or those different recognizable positions, their survival status might have been the person who has always struggled in school's literal thriving point. Like if they had hit that, who they would have been in the moment would have been amazing for others to experience. So getting comfortable with having this space of being intentional of what you're doing and why you're doing it, so that you can take ownership of who you are and why you are. This looks like what aspects of your life will you prioritize? You can only have one priority at a time. Despite what people say and the statements of, oh, I'm getting my priorities in order, you're actually not. You're going to find one thing to prioritize, and then everything else gets to fall in line with it. In the Strong Friends Lab, and this is, the mutation of previous versions of Greater Therapist Vibes, of Greater Self Whole Life Coaching, all the various different names and specific focuses that have previously happened in the coaching programs that I have created and ran and helped people reach significant success with. There is an aspect where there's an intentional process of looking at what it is you find and value to be the most important, and being comfortable with giving yourself permission to allow one thing for the time being to be of most importance to you, that as it shifts, changes, or becomes more routine or regular, you can focus on another thing as a priority, not everything all at once, all the time. The way that you go about this within the Strong Friends Lab is looking at MBS Reclaimed. So this is the components actually of the process of the Strong Friends Lab. So it's mind, body, self, and then the reclaimed or reclamation is the reclamation of the version of you that would be the goddess in this moment. It's the reclamation of how you're spending your time, of how you're using your resources, of what it is to set up your mental, physical, and self-efficacy processes for your life in this moment. The mental compartment, or the M, of the process and program looks like challenging what are my thoughts and views even of money, like of success, of self-worth, of maybe how I even care about or love myself. The physical, which is the B, the body component, really looks at what am I doing with my actual body that is going to move me forward into noticing my consistency and my goddess friend role more often than not. And that's in how I show up, literally, like physical presentation, what stuff you're putting into your body, taking out, like lots more specifics that we totally can go into. But this is a component of the process that I guide you through an intentional way of doing it. So you're not literally trying to do everything all at once, all the time. And the self-efficacy component is how do you think and feel and view yourself? What does your self-talk look like? What are the routines and processes that you're putting in place to create stability and consistency in how you care for yourself? What is your actual self-care routine, and how have you determined the difference between self-care, maintenance, soothing, and etc.? We, like I said, definitely talk about those things more, but being able to thrive in every aspect of your life does require you to identify what are the areas of your life. Where are the places that you're showing up as, and what are the things of significant importance, and where's your time being spent? When you are not able to, or don't notice that when you say something is really important, but then you go back and look at what I would say one of the best indicators of what's important, look at where you spent your money. And if that feels too scary or painful, then do, which can be just as scary and painful, do an audit of where you spent your time. Did you spend your time predominantly at work, which is why 40 hours a week can seem like, oh, it's not that much. You still have all these other hours, but what about the time it took to get there, to prepare for it, to leave from there? How much thought or energy goes into your actual career? And then what does it look like to ensure that your personal life, that is not your private life. So your career may be honestly your public life or appearance, where people get to access you for whatever it is you do and provide, and how you take care of others. Your personal life is the spot where you and the people that you allow to have an intimate connection with you, friends, family, maybe even a few like professional colleagues at a certain point, where they get to know who you are on the inside, not just the presentation of the role that you're presenting and caring for. How you take care of yourself is how you also take care of everything and everyone else. So is your overall well-being being cared for in a way that allows you to illuminate this goddess like kind of vibes or energy that people are just magnetically drawn to you because they can tell how much you care about them because of how much you take care of yourself. Practical tips that kind of help you maintain this image of yourself and be comfortable with the realistic transitioning of the various friend types based on what's needed in the situation definitely gets explored more in the 5 M's. This is looking at how you can be intentional about shifting your mindset. That's covered, like I said, in the M component of the Strong Friends Lab, how you manage what you have access to. So this is like, how are you managing your time? How are you managing your money? How are you managing your attention? How are you managing your body? Like all things that you have direct control over, how is that going? And it does start with being able to look at what you even think and view of those things so that you can shift or change it in a way that's supported to the goals that you've set. We've already discussed being able to set SMART goals and how that looks and making it specific to you and the things that you like to accomplish. When we look at, oops, I misspelled maximize, and it happens. When you look at maximize, this is how you can take those things that are already innately working and be intentional about enhancing and duplicating more of that while simultaneously decreasing those things that are not working. This looks like asking for the help and allowing people to help because you recognize it is a lot easier to go faster and further when you let other people support you in the process. The monetize, this is where when we're looking back at that set it off component, when we're checking out what are the different opportunities that are available to us as we're transitioning intentionally, that will allow you to start to incorporate more of your feminine energy on purpose, because most people, when they look at how they're monetizing things, it usually starts to get super hardcore in that masculine is do, go, instead of using your resources you have available to you and recognizing what can be the most effortless with the biggest impact. So that's managing your time. Like, how can you maximize your own time? which is not doing a bunch of stuff that isn't going to be most helpful when someone else can do it. The more you are able to do this, the easier it becomes to manifest. And this is where we're looking at that self component or the reclamation of you. And that if you are manifesting what you want, you won't miss it. When you're in your goddess friend energy, you recognize, I always wanted to have these connections, these relationships, this experience, this particular role in a career, and you get to enjoy it in the moment. You're not trying to figure out how to get it back or beating yourself up about it. You're recognizing, this is where I'm at, this is what I have access to, and this is why I'm able to show up and be available in the ways that I am and set the boundaries that allow you to recover and rejuvenate before you give and pour out all of you to everyone else. This is where, in shifting how you think and view yourself, the things of importance and that you value, you're able to then manage more of how you spend your time and your money intentionally so you can maximize the impact that you're wanting to have on other people, because you're also able to maximize how you care for yourself to more effectively monetize what will allow you to keep this cycle going in a way that works best for you. This is where you have quote unquote arrived in the ever moving arrival point of, for today, my 100% was absolutely felt and great, and my impact on who I was able to help was at the heightened level. The folks I got to connect with was the best version that was available for today. How I physically felt, looked, and showed up, excuse me, was like the most phenomenal that I had available. And the best part about it is I knew it was available because I believed that it was for me. And all I had to do was go ahead and show up and be present for it. That sounds super simple. Like, yeah, you just think really quickly and whew, it's all there. It's not that quick, but the process of getting to that off component, noticing what are some of those opportunities for the financial and the feminine energy freedom, it's what carries you into that goddess friend energy most consistently. That's why we call it the strong friend, well, the goddess friends lab. When you're in the lab, if you're in the lab, excuse me, that means you're creating things, you're testing stuff, getting hypotheses, you're getting data to confirm or deny that something was or wasn't effective. And then you're shifting and adjusting as it makes sense. When you're empowering yourself as a goddess, that opening and availability to feminine energy, which has been kind of stomped out and stifled out for a lot of life and years for most women, because it was not respected for the level of power and respect that, of strength that it really does have. There is a benefit in reclaiming that aspect of how can I be feminine in my approach to my, not only just financial freedom, but time freedom, relationship freedom, like whatever the things are that you're looking for that symbolize freedom for you, and freedom be the greatest version of yourself. The more you take in and are in tune with your own energy, so specifically that feminine aspect that innately has always been there, and if it hasn't been, or you feel like you don't have it anymore, I would love to help you harness and access that again, because this is the part that really puts you in the space to show up and be that greatest goddess version of yourself and be the goddess for most consistently. People get to experience you just being great because you're not fighting against yourself. You're not trying to push away and prevent yourself from being who you naturally are. And you're able to recognize what were the opportunities that I maybe passed up that I can now be intentional about noticing so I don't. What are the ways that I can show up and can function that allow me to collaborate and be around more like-minded folks that will totally help contribute to my personal growth, just by recognizing that the more money someone has access to, the more opportunities it opens up for you to help yourself and to seriously help other people. So if what you do is helping someone solve a problem or get them to a certain place, the more you offer it, the more people you stand to help. The more people you help by allowing them to invest in themselves, the more you feel great because you showed up as your authentic version. You gave them what they were looking for. And then you also got to take some of those burdens off of your own shoulder, because there may have been some fears or worries about telling people you do what you do, about asking for help or support, about being seen as an expert on something, and not having to show up like an attack dog or a shark or a wolf, like in the industry. Like, you can show up and be your extremely strong, amazing feminine self and be beyond impactful because you gave yourself that space and opportunity to do so. You didn't get stuck in a strong friend's mentality or the okay friend who just is trying not to be seen and in the background, or that mystery friend that's like, I just can't do any of this. So I'm either doing the most or I'm doing the least. Exploring these different ways to invest in your freedom or your personal growth gives you the space and opportunity to understand how you have always been and will forever and always be your best and biggest investment ever. The time that you give yourself to pour into you, not only do you get to reap the immediate benefits, but you get to 10x and give that to the other folks in the world that have the opportunity to interact or engage with you. In this moment, simultaneously, while I'm sharing information and you're receiving it, this is only because I, at some point, had to get out of my own way, had to put down my strong friend variations. I had to put down my, peaceful friend variations. And I totally had to stop moving in what would innately, if you're familiar with any aspects of astrology or just how stuff can go up or human design or any of the things, as an Aries, I'm like pretty much 100 or a 0 over here. So that mystery friend space, people definitely are familiar with having experienced that from me. I'm either like all in and it's all the fun and games, or I'm like, I'm blowing everything up and it's nothing. Being able to give myself the permission to explore different things and different ways to show up as myself allow me to even be able to speak to this and speak with the confidence that I know that it's capable, because I don't know if you guys have ever experienced imposter syndrome, but you having an experience while telling other people and being the expert on how to help and support them in that same area sometimes can feel like, well, who am I to even be able to show up like that and say those things? This is where you owning your goddess friend energy comes into play. Getting comfortable with that space of, not only can I help you, but I also have, am, and do continue to help myself in these same capacities and same ways, which is why you can speak so intelligently towards the things that you're talking of. All these different friend types, I have not only been them in various different circles and places of employment and within my own family and friends, but I've had the opportunity to be privileged enough to work with other people to support them through those same processes so that they could start to embody more of their goddess friend energy, which allows for all of the strengths of the various types to come together in the version that looks like you. The way that this has happened, and I'll say a little bit of my story or journey, just I've definitely done therapy before. And as a therapist, I remember thinking, God, I am horrible. Like, what therapist needs therapy? All of us. Like, because most of us came into this place or space to help other people, honestly, to avoid helping our own selves and like doing our own work. At some point, there's a transition. So there's an intentional transition in how or why we're doing the work we're doing, and move into a space of, okay, I need some help or support around this. So getting your own therapy, having your own experiences of bad therapy. And again, everything I'm saying, I'm telling you, this is what I have experienced and have the opportunity to help other people through. But having therapists that I couldn't connect with, and then thinking, oh my God, we're all doomed if I can't connect with the therapist. And how are people going to connect with me? And then starting that running cycle of, oh, this is the worst ever. Getting into a space of finally needing to get coaching on lots of different levels. So financial coaching, because clearly I've definitely had some experiences consistently of cycles of just not recognizing the relationship of my money and my thoughts and how they were showing up, that you could read my bank statements, credit card statements. And if you ever wanted to know where I was at in life, you can just look at it. And at the point that I became uncomfortable with the levels of success that I had, I would absolutely throw myself back into a cycle of things where I now need the help of all these different people again, because I didn't get it, because I didn't recognize that this was a cycle and that there was the possibility of not having to continue to stay in it. When I started owning my goddess energy is when I recognized I've always had the power to level up, but it required me to recognize it. It required other people to be able to call out different patterns and cycles that I didn't realize were there. So I've had lots of different types of coaches. I've had health coaches, which helped me literally lose weight. And then, of course, I coach so I could maintain it. And then I've had personal trainers, physical personal trainers, multiple different times that have been able at different points in my life still pour into me in different ways and capacities. I've done group coaching programs and cohorts, which have allowed me to level up in my businesses, level up in the ways that I learned about different exchanges of energy or ways of healing and modalities, even to the extent of how I even connect with myself as a woman, being coached on how to go back and take in, okay, what is feminine energy anyways? Destroying, dismantling stereotypes or beliefs I had about myself as a woman and what it meant to be a woman, and changing my vocabulary around that. And then finding other people to network with that were on the same path or ahead of me that I could learn from and still offer value to them in an area where maybe they hadn't gone through yet either. So there's this huge push. Oopsies. I'm not sure. We'll pause this for a second. Huge push. Oops, I just stopped it. Well, we'll come back to it. To be able to network with other people. So like networking is like a thing. It's like, oh my gosh, you got a mastermind, you got a network. You don't got to do anything, just to put that out there. But what happens, people aren't typically prepared for what that looks like, to go into an area where you're going to be giving to other people and they're going to be giving to you, because no one's talking about those intricate things. These are things that I definitely want to help you understand and learn and process and get through. And if you already know them, there might be some other aspect of what that looks like that could be super helpful to how you go about doing you. With that being said, knowing me having in my own phone people I can call that are millionaires, that are multiple business owners, that have chosen to receive no income and they just are charity based, or even in a space of what some might consider like taking on some monk-like tendencies, and they don't have income but all their needs are cared for, or they just give to other people. Having access to these various different types of folks in different industries and in the same allows me to remind myself, oh shoot, if you have access to these people, then that means you too are these people. So your network definitely makes an impact on what you have access to and how you get to show up. I say that to say you don't always keep the same circles at each stage or level of functioning. So in your states of functioning, of surviving, existing, and transitioning, there's going to be different people that are around you that are taking different forms of those friend energies, and even the version that you are to someone else changes and shifts over time. So when you notice relationships or connections changing, look at what did you gain from them? How did it work for you? And how can you continue to do it so that you can start to shift your time and attention back to what will be most helpful for you? Let's see. So since we're back to this, Let's see if we can get back on there. Get back to where we were. And if we can't, then what I can tell you, because looks like it's not going to be happening in this moment, is that where we were going next in this presentation was ultimately to the space of what do we want to be doing next? How do we want to go about doing it? And where are you willing to spend your time to make that happen? So this looks, okay, great. Now it's a pop back up. Cool, cool, cool. And of course, I can't see you guys anymore. Let me make that smaller. What we're going to be looking at is if you have the capacity and opportunity to make changes or shifts right now, and there was a space to have some quantum shifts, like instead of just having like, oh, I was able to have like one quick change in my life, you were able to 10x your results and get way more out of 1 hour of your time than you used to get out of it. Would you want to know how to do that? If you were able to be in a position where you not only can shift and transition from strong friend, peaceful friend to mystery friend as you need to, knowing that this is the true essence of you showing up as yourself, as the goddess friend, that this is how you embody that intentionally. This is how you are able to show up in your business, your career, in your friend groups, and your leadership positions, or even being led by other people in a way that's most supportive. If you knew you could do that, and you could cut down the learning curve of having, I don't know, another 5 to 10 years of figuring it out, would you want to wait the 5 to 10 years, or would it kind of be like, if someone can tell me how to do this in about a 4 week time frame, or within 4 sessions with tons of resources and access to reminders, tools, and tips and things to get there, and consistently get there at each evolution of yourself? Now, please, like, would you place a would would there be an amount of time or money that would ever prevent you from having access to that if you knew that it was available to you? I can tell you there has definitely been a point in life for myself, and I intentionally came today barefaced with the full intentions of being able to show up in the full embodiment of my goddess version that also can be raw. It doesn't require some big facade to be owning that. But I hear you, like what? No worries. We got something special for you. We'll probably send that out today so you can get access to it because you said something. You made a point. So anybody else that finds themselves in a position, you're like, yeah, I think that I would absolutely like to have something be different. I would totally like to be in a position where I can cut down the learning curve of how to do this most intentionally and strategically and get to be feminine in the same process. Um, I would be more than happy to help you with what I have already systematically proven over time to create this level of success in other areas of life, but now doing it and you get to collaborate and have it be a matter of your personal, your professional, and your relationship with yourself as a woman, how you're showing up as an amazing, beautiful goddess, anyways, and being able to make these transitions more consistently because you're present to what's happening in the moment. You're able to point out, oh, okay, cool. That looks like a belief or a thought or a thing that's happening for me. I don't think it's going to serve me anymore. So I definitely want to do something different. And I've got access to the tools to go ahead and like go through that process, make the shift, implement changes, move forward, and even connect with other people that have done myself or doing myself again and have already succeeded. All the people you have access to within the community of folks that I do know that get it, that you can just say, oh, okay, so this is not, I'm not the only person in the world. There's other people too. And we can also be collaborating and getting and doing this together. I would say this is a soft invitation Of course, if you are like, nope, I'm gonna need that right now, I need to get started and get going. Part of me wants to go ahead and like give you guys that because I was totally waiting until Wednesday to consider making this even a complete offer, but to have access starting as early as this weekend to get going on this process of let's make these transitionals and shifts. Let's get intentional about how you're going to be moving into your goddess friend energy in the lab on purpose. So this means we're going to be doing some work. You got access to tons of resources that are coming up. And these are not only just like self-care guides, but actual things for financial planning and managing of your money. Being able to manage and schedule your time in a way that lines up with what you said, finding those values of what you really believe in and being comfortable to get confronted with what you said versus what you do. So you can start to shift those behaviors and changes. And then being able to get yourself, if you don't already have a routine of how you're doing life on purpose, now you get to create that. And you get to create it from the space that actually lines up best with you, not somebody else, not me, not I don't know, Mel Robinson or a Grant Cardone or Rick Ross. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like any of those people, all of them are doing great things, but they absolutely had to own it and do it in the version that worked for them. They could have the support. So I can give you all the things and you get the help of me supporting you throughout the process. So you get the info, you get the tools and the things to do, and then you're going to be able to ask me literally, I won't say in person because it's virtual, but like live, the questions or things or concerns or like this is my specific thing, like what's a tweak or way that I can go about this so you can have something be different. And I think 4 weeks for sure is guaranteed. I want to say I was putting out there one bonus for sure, which would be like, I think this weekend was the first one. Maybe next weekend is the second. And then there's going to be an in-person opportunity if you happen to be in like the SoCal area. And if not, like now you have a reason to come take a trip and do a vacation. Um, we're going to have more info on this. But if you're like, yeah, whatever it is, I just know that something's got to give because I cannot keep doing this way. I will be more than happy to go ahead and send you that info that you can kind of get a sneak peek into one of our pre parts of the whole process that can start setting you up for that mind body self shift, as well as some extra tools and prior specific times, time oriented ways of setting up your goals that are going to make it easier to jump straight into those calls that we'll have live so you can get the absolute most out of every single thing that's being offered. If you're at that place and you're like, yeah, something's got to give like today, right now, by all means, if you haven't already said yes, please and thank you, I'm here for it, feel free to let me know now. You can put it in the chat. You can scream it from the rooftops, but I think if you scream from the rooftop, like only your neighbors will hear that. Maybe. But let us know so we can give you that sneak peek and then also offer some fast action taker bonuses because when you know, like I want to give that much more. So I will give a bonus. People that are here now, you guys are hearing it first because I wasn't going to say anything until Wednesday, but I'm going to give a bonus laser focus clarity call for you, for us to kind of create your whole mapping and game plan, and then access to that communicative form that we'll be able to like chat back and forth via there. Here I am totally. Okay. So, team Crystal, like for sure, we got to reach out to Latifa, make sure she gets access that we can get going and get stuff on the books. And because of that, like I didn't even mention yet, like what type of investment this is into yourself. But when you think about the amount of hours, times, and days that you spend doing stuff that's maybe more self-sabotage, I think considering where the program will be at by the end of this year and what you gain from it, like immediately and all the things, it's kind of a winner. So I'm not even going to share that part. I'm going to save it till Wednesday. But Atifa, what we can do is we will get you an email out and you can totally jump on my calendar so we can solidify anything else that you needed to know. Otherwise, you get to be the first person that's made that commitment to her goddess friend version and is going to be in the lab getting all that work in. Because I think the dates that we were looking at to give some time for implementation too, aside from the bonuses of the upcoming weeks, is like every other week. So you get a minute to like, all right, let me put in this work into myself and then test it out, see how it's flowing so that you can come back and ask the questions and get the additional support. But we're pretty much gonna start, yeah, this week. And by the end of this quarter, I am positive something will be different. Some aha, something will take place. And the more that you put into you, the more you will get out of what that looks like. So if you're ready to embody your either raw or totally presented intentional version of your goddess self, I guess we're doing it early, pre-invitation that I will not post publicly until after probably midnight on Wednesday. So again, because fast action takers, I am absolutely throwing in one. Who knows? There might be some more stuff, like maybe some merch or something like that, that also comes with it. But we will be jumping in and getting you in the Goddess Friends Lab and start making those shifts and changes immediately. So if there are any questions, thoughts, or concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer, as well as we definitely still have Wednesday too. And for those that are like, yep, I'm here for it right now, like I said, let us know. I know we already have one person that's like, no more, not doing this. We are changing and shifting today. I'm here for it. So I'll be able to actually reach out to you shortly within the next hour or so. Um, and yeah, just a little culmination. Goddess friends in training to be. You all totally have the capacity to be and do that and do so with the very intentional strategic process towards getting there. So you are not out here in the dark trying to figure it all out like, but wait, how am I going to change everything all at once? You don't. It's intentional. There's a process. Let it be easy. Let someone else's hard knocks and hard lessons of how to build better relationships with women, herself, with men, with peers, with coworkers, with business, with money, with family, friends, and you can just keep rolling it off. Let me help you. Let me give that to you. Let me share from my overflow of what did and did not work. Like, why not? Um, So yeah, and I can't wait. And I can't wait for the next person to be our biggest superstar because you you loved on you so hard that like it was just too much to not be sharing with everybody. Um Also I was going to say next week in next week's episode, but on Wednesday, I'll be sharing some other folks' prior experiences and successes and just things that they've done, even considering this version is more intentional. And there are some extra things that, oh my gosh, I'm so not going to tell you guys. I'm not going to tell you till Wednesday, but just for the team, remind me to tell to remind you to remind me of the extra bonuses that I was putting out there that will be shared on Wednesday. But again, some people are going to get some extras because they said yes today. Well, I thank you all for your time and your energy and for letting me share with you. I can't wait to see who all will be joining us in the Goddess Friends Lab and what awesomeness I get to be a part of with you, and I get to support you through and watch you like, oh, just mm, 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 mm. That's all I got to say about that. That's how it's going to be like, man, this was the most dot, 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 fill in the blanks. So with that, amazing, awesome people, Thank you. Of course. Like the more I get to me, the more I get to give to you all. And it definitely comes from a source outside of myself. So thank you for even allowing me the opportunity to share it. With that, I look forward to seeing some of you sooner than later. And everyone else, I'll be here on Wednesday. Oh, and actually, we'll be live tomorrow. Gotta, you know, share what the specifics will be. But Tea Talk's happening tomorrow, closer to our regular morning hours time instead of the evening. So I will be seeing you all soon. Enjoy the rest of your day and happy Monday. Bye, you all.